Thank you very much, James. Yes, it's my pleasure to give you an update on the equine vaccine supply situation, which all of you who have stud farms will be only too aware that we've had intermittent problems over the last 3 years, which have been extremely annoying. So this is the current situation. These vaccines are available in the United Kingdom currently. Tetanus, equine influenza, the big sales as far as the drug companies are concerned. And you can see there are 4 companies who produce tetanus and equine influenza vaccines, although I do understand that Elanco are or maybe pulling out of the market, so we may be down to 3. But for the other vaccines, West Nile is really there in the background. We don't have West Nile disease in this country at the moment, and until we do, I suspect that there won't be a market for its use, other than for those who have horses that are going to countries where it is an actively occurring disease. But looking at herpes virus, rotavirus and arteritis virus vaccines, we have one vaccine and one company only supplying that. And this is obviously a potentially dangerous situation in terms of when supply problems occur. So let's start with equine herpes virus, which has been the major headache for the last 3 years. There is one vaccine, as I say, Zoetis Equip EHV14 is licensed for use in the United Kingdom. And the vaccine has been proven and is licensed on the basis that it reduces virus shedding with respiratory disease, which is the major endemic situation. All horses get equine herpes virus respiratory disease when they're youngsters, like children at school, basically, and they produce a short-term immunity to this. But vaccination does, for respiratory disease in vaccinated older horses, produce a quicker and less complicated recovery and less spread. So it's good for you with stud farms to have your horses vaccinated because there's less virus actually circulating in your stud farm, and hopefully that will reduce the amount of abortion and neurological disease, we hope, in general terms. The other form of the disease is the abortion, and undoubtedly, again, the vaccine is licensed on the basis, and experience is such that we know that it gives partial protection against abortion. Outbreaks have been less extensive since we've had vaccines available. And therefore, alongside good management and in partnership with good biosecurity, vaccination plus management and biosecurity gives us a much better situation in terms of protection from abortion than not having a vaccine. However, having said that, we all know that occasionally there are very disappointing outbreaks that occur in well-managed and well-vaccinated herds, and such as Hertfordshire 2016, and therefore the situation is by no means complete in terms of immunity. And worldwide, there is more and more interest in neurological disease for herpes virus, major outbreaks in the United States, in France recently, and recently in Yorkshire, or an outbreak in Yorkshire here, and there is no demonstrable protection has been recognized against neurological disease. Now, Zoetis, which is the company that manufactures the currently available herpes virus, is the veterinary division of Pfizer, who you will all have heard of, and you know that they have undergone multinational mergers and acquisitions over a number of years, which have resulted in imposed changes in manufacturing plants. And Equip EHV14 production had to be moved from the Dufar plant in Holland, where it had been produced for a number of years, and the new facility in the United States has experienced manufacturing and quality assurance difficulties. So this has caused intermittent supply interruptions, which have been overcome for pregnant mares by the Veterinary Medicines Directorate, who are the government body that makes sure that the vaccines that are available for use in the United Kingdom are up to scratch. They have agreed to allow temporary import and use of the pneumobort K+1B vaccine from America on the basis of its safe use in Kentucky. And this will be allowed until normal supply of Equine HV14 returns, whenever that is. However, the current situation, I'm pleased to say, is that there is a large, their words, Equine HV14 batch is currently available in the United Kingdom and Europe, and I'm sure that your veterinary surgeons will have advised you to look ahead towards the expiry date in 2018 and let your veterinary surgeon know the numbers of vaccines that you will require during that period so that he or she can get sufficient supplies to take you through to that time. And I just get the feeling that things are improving, and hopefully there will be other batches to take over after that. But Pfizer and the VMD cannot confirm to us that's true until the batches come out and they've gone through quality assurance testing. So I wouldn't pretend to say we're out of the woods yet, but I would like to think that perhaps the Equine HV14 situation is stabilizing. Long overdue, but there we are. However, we have seen outbreaks now of equine herpes virus abortion in well-managed and well-vaccinated mares and herds. And this and the intermittent supply problems over three years, in my humble opinion, demonstrate that the equine industries require a new technology, safe and more efficacious vaccine for herpes virus. It's a very important endemic cause of respiratory disease. It's an important cause of pregnancy failure loss. It causes major disruptions in the running of stud farms when they occur, and enormous financial loss to those involved. And this is a very old technology vaccine, and we know that it's only partially effective. And so any improvement we can get with that will be most welcome. And new technology is available and should be used, in my opinion. The Animal Health Trust in Newmarket has monitored equine herpes virus outbreaks in the United Kingdom, studied viral isolates, and conducted research over many years, funded by the Horse Race Betting Levy Board, by the Thoroughbred Breeders Association, the Racecourse Owners Association, and the Alvarado Trust. And the AHT so they're in a very good position to be at the center of this research and push towards a new vaccine. And they have formed an equine herpes vaccine steering group to bring together research and vaccine experts specifically to design and direct research towards a new vaccine. They've had a number of research programs previously and applications in for research programs, but the idea of this is that this is a specific application for a research program based on the major push towards a new vaccine development. And so the steering group is chaired by Professor Joe Brownlee here, Emeritus Professor of Veterinary Pathology at the Royal Veterinary College. And he is almost unique in this country in having been responsible for development of the bovine diarrhea, viral diarrhea vaccine, and canine coronavirus vaccines from bench research through to transfer to Big Pharma for production. And so he's an obvious man to help us. He's also has a great interest in horses and is very, very keen to help us. From the Animal Health Trust, we have Mark Vaudin, the CEO at Animal Health Trust, Neil Bryant, head of equine herpes virus research, who will be the pivotal head of this program, Richard Newton, who you know very well, head of epidemiology and disease surveillance, Deborah Elton, the head of virology, Romain Payot, head of immunology, all at the Animal Health Trust. So there's a big critical mass of people who are experts in this field. Added to that, two ex-Animal Health Trust researchers, Professor Ken Smith, who is an expert on equine herpes virus pathology at the Royal Veterinary College now, Julia Kidd, now at Nottingham Veterinary School, who is a world expert on equine herpes virus immunology, so important in vaccine development, Professor Klaus Osterreider, an international expert in equine herpes virus research based at the University of Berlin in Germany. And he has some viral vaccine constructs which he will add to the program. Professor Tony Minson and Dr. Colin Crump, who are both human herpes virus research experts based at the University of Cambridge locally, and David Ellis and myself, who are joint veterinary advisors for the Albarada Trust, who have been major funders of the Animal Health Trust's program in this area. And the new proposal, which has recently been agreed, or is in the process of being agreed, and will be imminently released to potential funders with an application, is based on a 3-phase program over 5 years. And the first phase is to construct 3 candidate vaccines based on clinical EHV1 isolates with specific genetic deletions to test 4 modified live virus vaccine candidates and to test, provided by Professor Osterreider, in ponies to confirm that they do not cause equine herpes virus disease after vaccination, and to test the 7 mutated viruses for the ability to revert to pathogenicity using a validated laboratory mouse model. Obviously, that's the important starting point. And providing that is successful, phase 1 is successful, then to go to phase 2, which is to test the most promising vaccine strain from these results in ponies to confirm that it is safe to use the vaccine and to confirm that it can induce a robust and protective immune response using validated laboratory assays and experimental challenge with equine herpes virus 1. Providing that is then the results are satisfactory, and then to phase 3, to confirm the vaccine's inability to revert to virulence in ponies, which is vital for a modified live virus, and to develop the vaccine's ability to differentiate infected from vaccinated animals. This is a feature of modern vaccines called DIVA, and as you can imagine, it will be extremely helpful to have a vaccine that one can then look at horses that have circulating antibody levels, seropositive animals, and say, did this positivity come from field infection or did it come from vaccination? And this is the sort of vaccine that we need now for the future. If successful, then, this candidate vaccine will be offered to Big Pharma, Zoetis and others, for further testing, licensing, production and marketing, which is all necessary and is extremely expensive. So please don't think that the Big Pharma are being handed all this on a plate. They will, if they're interested, which I hope they will be, will then need to put in large sums of money to go to the final phase of actually producing the vaccine and having it licensed for use. The total funding requirement for this now is 1.7 million. The Albarada Trust have agreed 0.5, $500,000, providing others join to agree for the full requirement by October 2017, which is the next trustees meeting. So the clock is ticking, really, if Albarada are going to keep this offer on the table. And so the Animal Health Trust are working hard to contact people to try to gather together the rest of the funding which is necessary. And please be under no illusion that if the equine industries are not prepared to collaboratively fund this project, it is very unlikely that a new vaccine will be developed. Now, on to Rotavirus, which is a disease that those of you who produce foals will be very, very aware of. It causes epidemic diarrhea in foals, and it can be fatal. And before we had the vaccine, some years ago, it used to kill a number of foals every year, and there would be outbreaks that resulted in significant numbers of foals being on prolonged and highly expensive critical care, and found it difficult to return to clinical normality. So the Zoetis equipped rotavirus vaccine, which is administered to pregnant mares in late pregnancy, has reduced the incidence of this disease, and infected foals from vaccinated mares recover more quickly. Again, reduces the amount of virus circulating, it doesn't affect them so badly, and they get over it more quickly. And deaths are less common, and the amount of critical care needed to be done is much reduced. So the last thing we want to do really is to lose this vaccine. However, the current manufacturing plant again has had to be closed, and a new production line is being developed to start production in 2018. The currently available licensed vaccine batch goes out of date in November 2017, in other words, November this year. And the company anticipates a supply interruption. We've explained how serious this could be for the foal crop, and therefore the VMD have again been very helpful in allowing temporary import and use of Zoetis' Equine Rotavirus vaccine from USA, which is again a killed vaccine, and on the basis that it's extensively used in Kentucky, and clinical experience shows that it is both safe and in this case efficacious, they will allow that importation. So in the same way that those of you are used to importing now Newport K through your veterinary surgeon and through the Zoetis representative, that's the way that this is going to work too. So this is again a nuisance, but it can be overcome. There is a workaround. However, the situation is not the same for equine viral arteritis, which is the third one I need to talk about. Equine viral arteritis, or EVA, is a cause of outbreaks of respiratory diseases in horses and abortion in mares in mainland EU and North America. Thankfully, it is exotic to the United Kingdom, and at the moment we believe we are EVA free. It is, and have been for many years. It was first diagnosed in the United Kingdom in 1993 following AI with chilled semen from an imported Polish Arab carrier stallion who had been tested beforehand, but the problem was that the blood sample didn't come from the horse that was imported. And so that's how it got in. And it was spread by artificial insemination. Endemic disease in non-thoroughbreds throughout mainland in Europe occurs. So the importation of non-thoroughbred horses is a constant risk to the United Kingdom as far as EVA is concerned. Infected mares, however, recover in time and are then immune for life with no carrier status. So, why worry? That's really good news. The reason why we worry is that infected stallions and any male horses, including teasers, recover in time, but 1/3 of the ones that do recover become permanent carriers, and they permanently or intermittently shed the live virus in their semen, infecting susceptible mares. Now, EVA is a notifiable disease in the United Kingdom and will remain so, hopefully, because to help us with our exports, etc., through the EVA Order 1995. And infected and carrier stallions cannot be used for natural breeding or for AI because equine arteritis virus is in fact preserved rather than killed by chilling or freezing. So if you're using for non-thoroughbred horses, you're using, or those who breed non-thoroughbred horses are using chilled or frozen semen. This is a very good way of spreading the disease. And we saw this when this Polish Arab came in years ago. So we use Zoetis Equip Artivac vaccine to try to help protect stallions and teasers from infection if they are challenged and from becoming carriers, and these therefore become seropositive. Now, some of you may think, well, why are we worried about this if it doesn't occur in this country? Well, walking-in mares occur to thoroughbred stallion stations from all over the United Kingdom and from countries in mainland Europe. And the stud managers do not have overall control about the mares that are coming in. They take it on trust, and it's not outside the bounds of possibility that one day EVA may come back in again in that reason. And the last thing stallion owners and managers want is for their stallions to be infected and have the risk of becoming permanent shedders and completely valueless and unusable. The mares are not vaccinated because they are seronegative sentinels of infection in this curve. When you all have your blood samples taken for the code of practice in January of the year, then we like to see negative, 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 because it means to say that the population in this country, as far as we can tell, is negative to EVA, and that's a very, very comforting thing to know. If suddenly we were to find seropositive mares, then it would mean that the disease had come back again, and we would need to deal with it as we did before and eradicate it again. Now, Zoetis' current manufacturing plant has had to be closed again, or the current manufacturing plants had to be closed, and a new Zoetis production line is being developed to start production in 2018. The currently available licensed batch goes out of date in November 2017, so this November. Now, in the United States, they use a live virus vaccine, not a dead-killed vaccine, as Artavac is, so the Veterinary Medicine Directorate cannot allow its use in UK without further extensive testing, not only for safety and efficacy, but also for any signs of contamination with other viruses from United States or wherever that we don't wish to have in this country, from whatever species. So, and that's very unlikely that that data is going to be available, and so we don't have a backup vaccine to use. So the Zoetis, Veterinary Medicines Directorate, DEFRA, APHA, and the Animal Health Trust, principally through our friend Richard Newton, are currently discussing a possible workaround involving historic and current serial serological comparison testing of seropositive lapsed in terms of their vaccination stallions to show that they are not carriers. And this, of course, is an issue with the EVA order, whereby if a stallion cannot be shown to be seropositive because of consistent and regular vaccination, which has to be done on a 6-month basis, then the horse is considered at risk to have been infected. And so therefore they need to be examined for their semen in terms of the content of virus. Is the virus in the semen or not? These discussions are ongoing, but as you can imagine, anything to do with the government now has been disrupted by the election, and so this is going to take time. Now, if we hope that this workaround will be acceptable to all concerned, but we can't say at the moment, but if not, then the only alternative is to semen test for EAV with an artificial vagina if required. As you know, thoroughbred stallions are not used for artificial insemination. They're not trained to use artificial vaginas. Some of them will be absolutely fine, but others will be entirely put off by the fact that they've got to ejaculate into a tin can. So it's going to need some careful training if that's the case. And not only from that point of view, but this is a very important issue for those of you who shuttle stallions, of course, or potentially it is. Now, the current situation, as I see it, is that shuttling stallions could be booster vaccinated with the available batch of Artavac now, really, and then after, this season is ending, so now is the time to vaccinate them again, and then again just before November 2017 expiry date, and then providing they return home within 6 months, that should obviate any potential re-importation risks, because you don't want to have your horse going to Southern Hemisphere and then being stopped on the way back into England because it's a seropositive horse that has gone more than 6 months since the last vaccination and needs to have a semen test before you can have it back for the next breeding season here. And it's anticipated that there will be no licensed artivac for the 2018-19 Southern Hemisphere season. So we've got to find some sort of workaround before you can shuttle next year with confidence, I would have thought. There will need to be discussions with DEFRA and Southern Hemisphere national authorities as well, because, and I rather suspect, although DEFRA at the moment are showing signs of saying that they think this is a matter that the industry should sort out, foreign government authorities who will be at the end of the day responsible for agreeing this workaround or not usually want to talk to the United Kingdom government authority. They won't want to talk to the industry, and therefore we have to get government on side, and it's going to take, I think, time to get them to agree to this. So, shuttling seropositive thoroughbred stallions may need to be trained for semen collection with artificial vaginas, just in case all this doesn't happen. So the future of equine vaccines, we do a lot of worrying about this, and as we do with antibiotic resistance and as we do with anthelmintic resistance for worms. And we have to understand that the equine market is small in big pharma terms. And that's why we're very keen to work with EFTBA in Europe and with the International Federation of Thoroughbred Breeders Associations and foreign breeders groups to try to make sure that Zoetis understand that this is an international market. It's not just us. And this is progressing reasonably well. And I have to say that I have the honour and privilege of chairing the Animal Health Trust's Equine Industry Committee with people from all around various parts of the world and all the equine sectors in this country. And to that forum, the senior management representatives of Zoetis, UK, have told us that Zoetis are committed to all three of their equine vaccines, so they're currently experiencing supply problems. And we've had, or EFTBA have had similar assurances from senior members of Zoetis internationally. So I hope we can take that as being good news. But we are a small market to them. So our committee have reminded Zoetis UK of their responsibilities as monopoly suppliers. And only yesterday, in fact, I had a message from Zoetis UK again saying that they wished us to know that they are very committed to producing good quality, normal supplies of all three of these vaccines. At the South African International Breeders Meeting, we were given a completely different impression, and I hope that impression we were given in South Africa was not correct. However, clearly there is a need for a new equine herpes virus vaccine that is safe to use in mares, that is based on new genetic technology, that is hopefully more efficacious against abortion and perhaps to a degree against neurological disease. We can't be sure of that at this stage, but that would be very nice if we can achieve that. And that it's able to differentiate infected from vaccinated animals. In other words, it has DIVA capability. And the equine industries will need to encourage and support the drive for this vaccine, or this will not happen, and we'll be stuck with an old, less than satisfactory vaccine to continue to use for the future, which may again have supply difficulties. So please, any of you who have any influence at all with funding bodies within the industry, please help the Animal Health Trust to secure this funding. Thank you very much.